Hi, I'm back on YouTube. I presume that I am being no-showed once again. So what I'm doing, I was just finishing up some follow-up notes for somebody. I was thinking about this I'll stop stuttering and hemming and hawing. I know I do this, it's irritating. Okay, so what I was thinking about here, I've been talking to a lot of students about focus lately, and this is, sort of in the cycle of post-midterm things that people start to notice that this is getting to be a sort of serious issue in my studying. This is obviously we're in 7th week. People have generally gotten through at least, the major cycle of midterms and are reflecting a little bit on, how do I do better? And a lot of people are noticing focus as an issue. Okay, so some time ago, I got hooked into sort of the way that some educational psychologists think about this idea of focus and what enhances focus and all of this. And I got really enchanted by this one article. Let me see if I can find it among my many things. Academic skills, planning and programming, curriculum development, research, focus. Notice how organized I am. Yeah, not a whole lot of stuff here, but where is the one that I really liked? It's not that one. Not that one. I think it's this one. No, this is more about, maybe it's not this one. All right. Yes, it was this one. I like this one among other things. I know this is old. Somebody's got to come in and tell me like what next to read. I like this because it wasn't just these two academics from the University of Michigan, but somebody from the Federal Aviation Administration. Fans of Breaking Bad will know these are folks who really need to focus, right? Okay, so in 4 experiments, participants alternated between different tasks or performed the same task repetitively. The task for 2 of the experiments required responding to geometric objects in terms of alternative classification rules. So this is a square, this is a circle. And the task for the other 2 experiments required solving arithmetic problems in terms of alternative numerical operations, so adding or subtracting. Performance was measured as a function of whether the tasks were familiar or unfamiliar, the rules were simple or complex, and visual cues were present or absent about which task should be performed. So this is a forced switching experiment. There's going to be one experiment was around solving arithmetic problems, or 2 of them. There's 4 different experiments, and the other one is about geometric. They're going to switch between whether you have to add or subtract, do different numerical operations, or whether you're going to have to identify this object or that object. I think that's what's going on. All right, performance was measured as a function whether the tasks were familiar or unfamiliar. So they figured out these different things. Okay, that's a variable here, a factor, whether the rules are simple or complex, and the visual cues are present or absent. Task alternation yielded switching time costs that increased with rule complexity but decreased with task queuing. Okay, this is the big thing. Okay, there's when you switch between one task and another. All right, so that's what they're doing here, asking you to go between two different tasks. That there is something that happens, and it is in like tiny fractions of a second. There are costs that happen every time you switch. I mean, obviously, if I said, you know, oh, I'm finishing up studying for Math 4B, now I got to study for my history class. There's a whole, you can get just intuitively, there's a whole set of gear switching you've got to do in your head in order to move to the next task. Now imagine, well, you might not have to imagine this, that you are doing the same thing sort of all the time, sort of fluttering in between, you know, thinking about Math 4B and thinking about something that happened at a party this weekend, thinking about Math 4B and noticing another tab, thinking about History 4B or Math 4B. Thinking about History 4B, thinking about anything. If you're switching back and forth your thoughts and are not able to sync your thoughts in something, you will have switching costs. Even the switch in thoughts provokes switching costs. And so in these kinds of forced switching experiments, they can measure even these fractions of a second. And what they found in this experiment, I like this experiment because it's so concrete in what you need, is that the switching cost decreased with task complexity, or with rule complexity, but decreased with task queuing. So if you've got a task where, you know, you're going from one task to something that has harder rules, like more complex features to it, yeah, you're going to have big switching costs to get over there. If, on the other hand, you have something over here that's very simple rules, like watching a YouTube, there isn't heavy rule complexity to that, right? You don't have to like have your mind in a certain sort of mind frame in order to get to that task. So it creates an easier slide. But the other thing is queuing. To be careful to, while you are in the mindset that you want to get some work done, you not only have to get rid of everything that's going to cue you out of that, and I'm talking about literal visual, auditory cues, any sort of cues that will, you know, take you over to check your phone, right? As opposed to positive cues that you can give yourself. All right. So one of the things I've been like working with students on this. And yes, if any of you are studying this issue as psych majors or whatever, and you think that this, you know, kind of approach needs to be superseded, yeah, I'm totally happy to get any kind of commentary or that anybody notices I work here at all. All right. So going back to this. This is something that could be turned into first a PDF. Okay. And then let's see. No. And then you can have this available to you. What my suggestion is if you finish studying, say I made a bunch of these, food and world history, right? And you finish this up and you're going to switch over and study something else. the last thing you do before you get up from your desk is put up the history of constitutional law to cue yourself, right? This is the next thing. Like, so that when you go back to your desk or you go open up your laptop, the first thing you're seeing is not the tabs that will cue you out of what you need to do. You're going to be cued in with this. The same thing goes for, let's say that you're, chugging along, studying the history of constitutional law, and you realize that you have drifted off, right? That maybe for 5 minutes you've gone off and you've been like thinking about something else. This is where if you have something like this, like sort of in front of you, like if you're reading and then can even keep this in the corner of the screen, or you can have like, print it out and put it on your desk while you are there, then this might be an easy way to cue yourself back in to what you're doing, and get away from whatever was distracting you. All right, so I want to talk about that, but I also want to get back to what I was talking about here about, oops, wrong one. Let's get back to Ulysses. One of the things I'm going to do now is figure out, we've got 579 pages. So one of the things, now that I'm starting to get like a sense of what this reading feels like, having been through a couple pages of it, what I'm going to do is 5, 7, 9 divided by 8. I'm going to try and do an eighth of this book. It's just 72 pages. All right, and divided by 5. So if I want to just read, I'm only going to get 14 pages into this. All right, and so I'm thinking somewhere around 14 pages, I'm going to start with the apparatus, okay? And the apparatus of note-taking is what I'm talking about, like more intensive note-taking, not just marginal notes, but something more formal. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll just go ahead, insert. I forgot. I have not done a header or a footer on a document in a long time, to be honest. And I want to put some, here we go, footer, page numbers. Okay. So getting my highlighter back. All right. Haven't quite made it to 14, and I hope that this kind of demonstrates how it's slow going. And you can see in these two colors of marks and in the blue writing, the trace of my thought. All right, like there's a bunch of things in here that are just like, these are terms I don't know. It's language I don't know, characters I haven't been introduced to yet, little moments of Greek right here. And most of that, I don't know who the aunt is, why she's referred to as the aunt instead of your aunt or my aunt. Yeah, this is a word I should know. I've heard this word 1,000 times and never, it means Irish in some way, I think. And yeah, but the thing that I'm really also starting to track is some of these big things that are happening. Somebody thinks that Stephen killed his mother. These moments of affection and appreciation. Kinch, the loveliest mummer of them all. Kinch, you look damn well when you're dressed. And then also, yeah, he regards Stephen, Buck regards Stephen as a bard, as a poet, a writer. He's telling him, I want to teach you Greek. So these are sort of like these intellectuals or something. But they're also in some, yeah, situation of their military. They have, it seems like, fellow officers who treat them with, or at least treat Kinch with, or Stephen with disrespect. Yeah, that they don't consider him to be a human. There's a sense of the problems of Ireland. Buck thinks it needs to be Hellenized. It needs to somehow pick up a better culture, right? And yeah, this that Stephen says that the cracked mirror, a symbol of Irish art, the cracked looking glass of a servant. So there's this idea of servitude to, and there's this idea that comes up of like, this is about English colonialism. The chap downstairs, his old fellow made his tin by selling whatever this is. Jalap, I do not know what it is, to Zulus or some bloody swindle or other. This idea of Ireland as being yes, of being a problem, a new art color for Irish poets, snot green, you can almost taste it. This idea of Ireland being sort of sad. That's what I'm getting so far, just by looking at what I have. Not quite ready to write and do not feel like I am so confused about what's going on. Fundamentally, this is just a conversation between this guy named Buck and this guy named Stephen. And so I'm just trying to pick up on who are these guys and what are both what's the explicit content of their conversation, and what are the many, you know, sort of less obvious thematics that come out here. stuff about education, about literature, about Ireland, about the death of this mother and about mothers, the sea as a mother, but then also this other mother who Stephen refused to pray for. He wouldn't get on his knees and pray. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go. This is how I deal with difficult reading, but I gotta say, so far, this is not, shoot, I've been scared of this book for nothing. When is it going to get difficult? All right, maybe I need to try something more challenging so I can show you what I do when I'm actually like crunched and not just, yeah, when I can't tell what's going on. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you for not tuning in as usual. I know that nobody's here, even though I tell people.